Hello. It's like, hey, where you been? You haven't made any videos in the past 3 days. This is exactly correct. However, I feel awesome. I completely laid off caffeine and fake soda with its cancer-causing chemicals. I actually feel great. Kind of on the half caveman, half keto diet. Of course, I'm going to go out and walk later, even though the rain and the weather is absolutely miserable outside. Actually, I'm still a working photographer. I actually had 3 jobs over the past 3 days. One was yesterday, and 2 was on Thursday. They were just business shoots for businesses' websites, kind of half product photography, half real estate. What the hell does that mean? You're basically taking pictures of real estate, the interior, exterior of a business for their website, or for their banners, or for corporate gigs to show people, hey, this is our business. And half product, but I mean, real estate, you actually have to deal in bulk. You actually have to do a lot of real estate photography. Otherwise, you're just running around, and you have to do a lot of. There is a lot of money in real estate photography. However, putting that many miles in the cars and on the car and driving around is not my cup of tea. I don't think I could ever get into real estate photography. You should actually look into corporate/business photography. There's a lot of businesses that need good shots, especially with perspective controlled lenses. Yeah, so the verticals don't converge and it doesn't look like it was taken with an amateurish point. You could take the best camera in the world, but if you have a uncorrected, and of course you can correct that in post-production, uncorrected shot where the verticals are converging, it's just that je ne sais quoi that people don't realize. Like, why does this interior shot look more professional? It's because the verticals don't converge, and my God, and this is of course why Fujifilm needs to come out with, and I think they're working on a perspective control lens for their GFX system, and I think they're working on one for their X-mount cameras also. However, I'm currently using a old Nikkor 28mm perspective control lens with a $20 adapter, and that lens is incredibly sharp, so use adapted lenses. Anyway, this is my X-T3 and my X-H1. Currently, right now, the X-H1 is the best value professional camera out there. There's been a lot of speculation recently, and of course, people are about to say, well, you're speculating, or you're about to speculate right now, and that is the case. However, there's a difference between half-arse speculation and speculation based upon logic and known facts, and this is, of course, the secret of what we call Platonic retroduction. You actually take things that are unknown, but you actually work your way back to a logical, intelligent conclusion based upon known factors. Just like when HP bought Compaq back in the day, they didn't integrate them into the system because they didn't want to lose shelf space. And of course, we're not talking about literal shelf space here anymore, since everything is online now on Amazon and countless other places, B&H Photo, Autorama. There's actual shelf space that Fujifilm is not going to eat up its own, even in a shrinking camera market. And of course, all camera companies, both Nikon, Sony, Fujifilm, and Canon, have reported declining profits. However, nobody like Nikon and Olympus. Fujifilm noted a decline. However, I think a lot of that is due to the fact that some of the new cameras are just about to break out, and also, too, there's been a small issue with availability of the new flagship medium format, the GFX 100. And I'm still waiting on my GFX 100. There are a lot of other people that are waiting also. This is also further proof that I'm not getting, any favors from Fujifilm, because I still don't have a GFX 100, and I'm still waiting on my retail store to get one in, which I have the money for. Anyway, getting back on topic, the X-H1 is by Fujifilm's own definition, and of course that defines a series, their flagship camera. This is actually what Fujifilm called their X-H1. It actually is the feature-rich camera over that of the X-T3. I know the X-T3 has superior autofocus capabilities, and it actually has a BSI sensor with phase detect autofocus, and of course more autofocus points. You'd think, well, the X-T3 is more feature-rich, and it is in that spectrum. However, there are feature-rich characteristics of the X-H1 if it had the exact same sensor in it and the same video capabilities. Then, of course, it would be an X-H2, right? Now, there are still feature-rich properties and attributes of the X-H1 series, and the X-H2, I'm not going to speculate on the specifics of the characteristics of the X-H2 as far as which sensor or what sort of unique, fun improvements and upgrades are going to be on the X-H2, but such as the leaf spring shutter mech, the 4-point spring suspension on the actual shutter mech itself, which makes the mechanical shutter release so incredibly quiet and it's so perfect for wedding photography. Also, too, obviously so, the IBIS mech. It's been stated by one rumor site, I believe, and of course I've been saying this countless times, is that the integration of an IBIS mech would necessitatively not only increase the cost of the camera, but also necessitatively increase the thickness. It was reported that supposedly the X-T4 was going to be about 1/3 of an inch thicker, which would necessitatively be the case. However, of course, this is all both speculation on the people that are speculating on this, because a rumor by definition is speculation. But when people say, well, like when the X-T3 came out, it's like, oh, it doesn't have an IBIS mech. Well, it doesn't, but it would also be. And of course, all these camera companies are killing each other for profits out on shrinking camera market. You know it, and I know it. You've been falling into the camera stuff. All of these, the camera market by and large is shrinking. And as I actually declared 4 days ago, roughly, I think it was 4 days ago in a video, is that right now we're in a transition period. The exact same thing was mirrored between film and digital. When digital really hit hard with, I forget which Canon model, since I don't care about Canon whatsoever, even though I have some great glass. Like when the Nikon D3 hit, everybody realized, even the people that love films, like film is dead, essentially dead. But the only thing that Nikon kept making was the professional level series of film cameras. But all the dinky stuff has gone away, so essentially did very, very rapidly, and all the dinky stuff. That's why you don't see Olympus at best, the Olympus point-and-shoot cameras. When's the last time you saw a freaking point-and-shoot camera? You can't even go to Costco now and see a point-and-shoot camera. You don't even go into Best Buy now and see a point-and-shoot camera. And a significant portion of Nikon's sales, for example, and I know this is a video about Fujifilm, was their dinky cameras, their D3000, D5000 series of cameras. But there is a clear line of differentiation between the two. There was another rumor that someone supposedly talked to a Fujifilm person. Of course, this is like he said, she said. I heard it from my brother's mother. The future camera would be an integration of the X-T3 and the X-H2, and that it would just be the X-T4. In other words, there's no point premise for having an X-H2. These two cameras could meld together. And that seems entirely implausible. I completely deny that speculation, with more speculation of my own, right? But there's speculation based upon logic and facts, is that there's really not a snowflake's chance in hell that Fujifilm, we're talking about digital shelf space, like Amazon, B&H Photo, Adorama. So when I say shelf space, this is still the vernacular that's actually used to refer to these things, that there's not going to be any chance that Fujifilm is going to, kill off the XH line and have a Frankenstein melding of these two cameras. I mean, this is obviously a thicker camera. The X-T4, if it does have an IBIS mech, like I said, it will necessitatively, undeniably, not adjusted for inflation, it will necessitatively be larger and more expensive than the X-T3 is. And in a shrinking camera market where everybody's killing each other for profits, I just cannot see that happening. Just cannot. This camera is not made in Japan to actually keep the price point down. All the parts are the same. Like I said, people don't realize that a digital camera is really only 4 things. It's a sensor, a shutter mech, a main board, and a magnesium housing. That's all it is. All the parts, like on the X-T30, for example, is the exact same sensor in this. When it says made in China, people fail to realize the distinction, and the devil is always in the details, between assembled somewhere versus made somewhere, because all the constituent components are still made in the same place. But the price point is actually saved under cost-benefit analysis in a shrinking camera market to actually have the labor be cheaper for assembly. And that's worked beautifully on the X-T3. I've not actually had a single email, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I've not had a single email from anybody saying, well, compared to my Japanese-made X-T2, I just don't see the quality in the X-T3. No one's actually sent me an email about that, because it's not true. I still have one of my X-T2s. I've owned 2 of them. And this, of course, is my X-T3. The constituent components that make it up are still made in the same place. But really it seems completely implausible and impossible and logically untenable that Fujifilm would A, give up the shelf space, or B, try to create an integration of the X-H2 with this, because the grip is much larger on the X-H1. There is a leaf spring shutter mech. That doesn't really change anything. However, the IBIS mech, the size increase necessitatively, also to the price increase necessitatively, would create an X-T4 that would, in the eyes of many people, be slightly untenable, even if it's very, very feature rich, such that it would be not only significantly thicker, but, and then people are going to say, well, you know, now it's gotten to the point where this is the same size as a full frame mirrorless camera, of which there are several choices, however, all of which are inferior to Fujifilm's. I mean, it's just, is that your opinion? Yeah, well, some opinions are worth a lot more than others. I mean, Fujifilm is making the best cameras to date. The only thing that's actually made better than a Fujifilm, however, reliability is a lot less, amazingly so. Even though it is a better made camera, it wouldn't be something like a Leica. Is there any other camera that actually comes to close to Fujifilm's build quality out there and currently in the digital market? I mean, Leica is really not even an entity. I mean, they almost got sold off a couple years ago, except the major holder of Leica didn't want to relinquish up 51% of it to Zeiss, because Zeiss is really hot and heavy on buying Leica, and Zeiss could integrate Leica into its entire ecosystem, and it would be a perfect marriage. But I mean, currently, no one's making cameras with the fit-finish quality of manufacture that Fujifilm is. They're just not. And of course, my favorite camera in the world is the GFX 50R. I've had 2 months of use on the GFX 100. I mean, but you know, the 50R it's a compact medium format camera, and if you can't crucify it with 51 megapixels of medium format, you can't do it with 100 megapixels either. However, I'm still getting the GFX 100. I love the hell out of it, and of course, the one thing where IBIS is incredibly useful is with medium format, where there's a serious issue with shutter shock. But specifically, getting back on point, Fujifilm has called their X-H series, and this of course is the first iteration, the X-H1, their flagship camera. And they're not going to kill off their flagship series of X-mount cameras just because, hey, there's a shrinking camera market and everybody kind of lost money this year. You know, that would seem to be superficially logically tenable and sensible, but that's not the case. They're not going to give up the shelf space, and they're not going to create... People that love the X-H1, and man, a lot of people recently have emailed me and said they took my recommendation and bought this. This is currently, with the vertical grip, you can get it for $1,000, the best value on a professional. You know, like for $1,000, I want something new and professional. There's actually nothing else out there close to it relative to the X-H1. They're just not in the mirrorless market. There's absolutely not. I said the Japanese facility is not huge. I know for near certainty that that lines are rotated as far as where they surge, like on a new release. Obviously, a lot of units have to be produced. That the Japanese facility for Fujifilm is not absolutely enormous. And like they're currently, I know for a fact, 100% fact, that of course the X Pro 3, which I've used for a couple weeks now and am getting the X Pro 3, is made in Japan, and Fujifilm wants that, that is Fujifilm's flagship, not X-mount, but it's their flagship digital rangefinder genre, you say genre, of cameras. Larger viewfinder, basically the same image processing engine and same sensor as found in the X-T4, however, of course, in the form factor with titanium top and bottom plates and several other improvements of the X Pro 2, which I also have in the back room. Sorry, I can't bring out every camera here for every video. But X-T3 series is the compact. The X-H series is the flagship camera. It seems completely untenable that there's going to be a merging of these two, because then you'll just end up with an X-H, a theoretical X-H4, that will, of course, necessitatively be thicker, more expensive, roughly a third of an inch thicker, which is exactly what I've been saying now for the past couple of years. It was like, well, when the X-T3 came out, there's certain people that were chirping, well, it doesn't have an IBIS mech. Well, yeah, but it'd be thicker. And it's already big enough, and it would be more expensive. You know, there's only so small you can actually make the IBIS mech. I know Sony's actually integrated it quite well, however, I'm not going to talk about their cameras. That's not the place for this video. I'm not exactly a lover on any front of Sony's cameras. Their sensor industry, of course, is a completely different line, but I don't like their corporate. I'm going to be completely politically correct and say I don't like their corporate ethos or the product that they actually make, or their say their approach to manufacturing those cameras. But yeah, currently the best deals are the X-T30, which I also have, and the X-H2. This is a professional camera, of course. The X-T3, I don't receive any emails from people complaining, why I can't stand this about the X-T3. This is just a horrible idea. I mean, for the price of what the X-T3 is and how feature-rich it is, this video and I'm not a video person. I mean, I make a lot of videos, of course, and I do make videos here and there, but I don't even claim to be a video person. I've stated I actually don't care about video, but I know the X-T3 is incredibly feature-rich on videos, and for the price point, the X-T3 is a killer deal. However, despite the fact that, it doesn't have, you can't shoot black cats at the bottom of coal mines at 3 a.m., on the X-H2, nor can you any other camera. We obviously have slightly inferior autofocus, but really, for 99.99% of what you're going to be shooting, is that really an issue? Do you need that many more autofocus points of the X-T3 versus the X-H2? Yeah, this is currently the best value. Obviously, the X Pro 3 is releasing sometime here very soon. I thought it was going to release drop for retail consumption somewhere about the middle of November, which we're already here, actually a little bit past the middle of November, so I think that has to be coming sometime extremely soon. I already have my order in for the X Pro 3, and I had use of it for a few days while up in PhotoPlus in New York City. But yeah, the bottom line is that the X-H2 is definitely coming. I really cannot see, and of course this is speculation, however it's logical speculation, that there's going to be a melding of these two cameras. Because then you're going to take the best of what this camera is and the best of what this camera is and create something, that's slightly not the best of what each one is individually. Also, too, Fujifilm's not going to give up the shelf space. Also, too, Fujifilm is not going to subsume, yeah, that's a neat word, right, subsume the X-H2 into the X-T3 and lose what Fujifilm, in their own words, have called for years now their flagship series of X-mount cameras, which is the X-H1 line, or the X-H line, excuse me. So that's it. I'm still recovering from the past 3 days because I've been working my butt off and, gone to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning every night, sitting in front of Capture One. However, blasting the music, that was fun. Kind of, sort of. Just editing pictures, a little bit of perspective control, a little bit of tweaking on the sliders, and it's a decent job. Doesn't pay well. I love the hell out of Fujifilm. I mean, as a postscript note, Fujifilm is doing everything right now that these other camera companies really are not. Unfortunately, and I love the hell out of Nikon, they're following the IBM mentality that we're too big to fail and we don't need to listen to all you pathetic peons out there because we're Nikon! They really, really have always had that mentality. They have always been famously arrogant. I know a lot of people that have been working with Nikon for a long time, and they all in complete 100% agreement with me and I with them that they're incredibly arrogant. I love Nikon. They just do not listen to their customers. Like, what we give you is going to be, you're going to want it because we're Nikon. Thank God Fujifilm does not do that. The constant firmware updates, listening to their customers, producing high-quality products at a terrific price point. I sound like a commercial for Fujifilm, but I put my own money in this stuff because I know me some digital cameras, and I know who's making the good stuff, and Fujifilm is making the good stuff. And by God, they're medium format camera. My favorite thing in the whole world, medium format. And who dominates the world of medium format now? Literally overnight, it's Fujifilm. Anyway, I digress. I will shut up now, and thank you so much for watching. Большое вам спасибо, as they say in Russian. Also, to увидимся. And also in German, Guten Tag, Frau und Mädchen. Was ist los? Nichts ist los, yeah? Go grab a bottle of Gerolsteiner and wet my whistle. Yeah, Gerolsteiner, the German mineral water. Thank you so much, and goodbye.